Thanks for coming. You know, we've come from just about every place you can imagine in southern New Hampshire, and that's a good thing, because what's going to happen here tonight is going to spill out, and it's going to go on. We don't want you guys to just get another concert tonight, and we don't want you to feel like you've wasted your time. And I know some of you guys, your arms twisted by mom and dad. Here anyway, and some of you guys worked as hard as you could to get here, and a lot of kids put in a lot of time to put this on for you guys, and I want to say thank you for tonight, where you're going to be listening, you all by yourself, and your friends aren't going to be able to impact a whole lot of what you're thinking, because a lot of what we're going to be talking about is your own personal life, and the stuff that you've done, and where you're going. And I want to make sure that you don't feel like you're alone in this world when you're done. Because there are people that are going through now exactly what you're going through. There are people that have been through what you've gone through. And there are people whose lives are dedicated to seeing that you make it. Not just make it, not just slide by, but that you succeed. I want you to understand that tonight before we even begin. Because we're going to be doing some stuff that if you go to a public school, it doesn't get done that often. I'm going to read out of the Bible. From a passage in Romans, I'm going to start. Because tonight, we're going to talk about sex. Can you follow me on that? You guys can walk out now. You guys still see me? So because I can't sit still. I teach in the classroom, and if I stood still in the classroom, the whole classroom falls asleep on me. So is that okay? You got my name up? Okay, good. But I can't stand. I don't want to be stuck behind a podium. I feel like I'm preaching. I don't want to preach. But I want to tell you something. Listen to what it says. I'm reading out of Romans chapter 1. If you've never looked in the Bible has a lot to say about sex. There's a lot to say about you and sex. And there's a lot to say about God and sex, and God's purpose for sex. And we're not going to hit it all tonight. But I think you're going to hear things, unless you've heard me talk before, you're going to hear things that you've never heard before, that maybe you've never thought of before. And this is going to have a definite impact. Listen. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. The wrath of God is being revealed against men who perform wickedness. Now listen to what the wickedness is. They suppress the truth. Men who suppress the truth. They don't want the truth to come out. The wrath of God, which is something that doesn't get spoken of very often, which is something that in the Bible is painted, like if you heard of the tornado that came down on the church, where was it, in Georgia, a couple of weeks ago. That's what the wrath of God looks like when you read about it in the Bible. And it doesn't say it's against anybody. The wrath of God is not a willy-nilly thing that hits innocent and guilty alike. The wrath of God is something that is poured out on people who are suppressing the truth. Since what is known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, has been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that these men are without excuse. You can see, looking around, that there is a God. If you have a watch in the woods, you can't say, oh, look what nature hath wrought. If there's a watch in the woods, there has to have been a watchmaker. Obvious. This universe is more perfect and more ordered and more structured than any watch. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and they exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. That means that they started glorifying each other, stopped glorifying the God who made them. And they stopped teaching about him in the schools. Therefore, now listen to this punishment. It's strange. then you get to understand the wisdom of God. Therefore, God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. All of a sudden, sex, which was something beautiful, becomes something depraved and ugly. God didn't punish them by giving them cancer. He didn't punish them by sending bolts of lightning upon them. He punished them by giving them over to their lusts, their sexual impurity, to abuse and degrade their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and they worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Because of this, because they stopped worshiping God, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed indecent acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. I need to go into detail what that's talking about. You guys are into the news and you understand what the talk of the day is. And homosexuality is no longer a perversion. It is now something that is normal and something that is almost lifted up because it's been put down for so long. But what has happened is people who rejected God have been given over to their lusts and have been given over to impure actions. That's the punishment of God. They can have what they want. Let me say it again. That's the punishment of God. They can have what they want. But where does it lead? Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, He gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, depravity. They're full of envy. Now listen to this. If this doesn't read like a paper in the 90s, they're full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. They're gossips, slanderers. They're gossips, slanderers. We're not even talking about homosexuals. Now we're talking about me. Am I being punished too? They're gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. No, that's not us, is it? They disobey their parents. They're senseless, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do those very things, but they approve of those who practice them. Go ahead. Come on, you do it too. Hey, let's all do it. Beavis and Butthead. You know? Hey, there's nothing wrong with watching that. It's happening all the time. And the punishment of God is being revealed. How? Not necessarily by the earthquake in California. By the increase of sexual depravity and perversion among us, among our friends, in the schools, by the increase in the people that are becoming pregnant or getting people pregnant right around us, and their almost unwillingness to see that what they're doing is killing them. They've been given over in their minds and in the lust of their hearts